A Complete History of Venice. Part 1. The Lagoon Refugees, 5th-7th centuries. Following the collapse of the Western Roman Empire and successive invasions by Huns and Lombards, mainland populations from Roman cities like Aquileia and Padua sought refuge in the treacherous islands of the Venetian lagoon. These marshy, isolated islands offered protection from land-based armies. Early settlements like Heraclea, Tacello, and Malamocco began as fishing and salt panning communities, nominally under the authority of the Byzantine Empire in Constantinople. Part 2. The Birth of a Political Identity, 697 to 811. To organize and defend themselves, the scattered island communities elected their first leader, Paolo Lucio Anafesto, recognized as the first Doge, from the Latin dux, meaning leader or duke, in 697. This marked the beginning of Venice's unique political system. The capital was initially established on the island of Lido. In 810, the Doge's seat was moved to the more defensible and central group of islands known as Rialto after a Frankish invasion was repelled, solidifying Rialto as the heart of the future city. Part 3. Forging a Maritime Economy, 9th-10th centuries. With little land for farming, the Venetians turned to the sea. They became master shipbuilders and sailors. Salt, harvested from the lagoon, became their first major export. They began trading along the Adriatic and Mediterranean, acting as a commercial bridge between the Byzantine East and the European West. The Arsenale, the state-owned shipyard that would become the engine of Venetian naval power, had its origins in this period. Part 4. The Theft of a Patron Saint, 828. To secure their spiritual and political independence from both Rome and Constantinople, Venice needed a powerful patron saint. In 828, Venetian merchants smuggled the relics of Saint Mark the Evangelist from Alexandria in Egypt, allegedly hiding them under layers of pork to deter Muslim guards. The Doge ordered the construction of a magnificent chapel to house the relics, the first basilica of San Marco. Saint Mark, symbolized by the winged lion, replaced St. Theodore as the patron saint, giving Venice a unique and prestigious religious identity. Part 5. The Consolidation of Power, 11th-12th centuries. Venice formalized its status as a major maritime republic. Through military service to the Byzantine Empire, it gained extensive trading privileges. The Arsenale was formally established in 1104 and expanded into a massive, fortified industrial complex capable of building and outfitting an entire fleet in days. A series of naval victories, particularly against Slavic pirates, secured Venetian dominance over the Adriatic Sea, which they came to call the Gulf of Venice. Part 6. The Shrewd Betrayal, the Fourth Crusade, 1202–1204. This event marked Venice's ascent to imperial power. The Crusaders hired Venice to transport them to the Holy Land but could not pay the full fee. The blind and octogenarian Doge Enrico Dandolo offered to defer the debt in exchange for the Crusaders' help in subduing the rebellious Christian city of Zara. He then redirected the entire crusade to its ultimate target, the rich and powerful Constantinople. The city was brutally sacked in 1204, and Venice claimed a vast empire, including strategic ports, islands like Crete and Euboea, and a quarter of Constantinople itself. Part 7. The Clash of Titans, the Venetian-Genoese Wars, 13th–14th centuries. Venice's main rival for Mediterranean trade was the other great maritime republic, Genoa. Over 150 years, the two powers fought a series of devastating wars for control of trade routes. The conflict reached its climax in the War of Chioggia 1378–1381, where the Genoese fleet, allied with Padua, laid siege to Venice itself by capturing Chioggia at the southern end of the lagoon. Through brilliant strategy and sheer determination, the Venetians trapped and defeated the Genoese fleet, breaking their rivals' power for good. Part 8. The Serene Republic's Government, an Oligarchic Miracle. In the late 13th and 14th centuries, Venice perfected its unique republican system, designed to prevent tyranny and factionalism. The Serrata del Maggiore Consiglio, locking of the Great Council, in 1297 restricted political power to a closed class of noble families. Power was balanced between the Doge, a lifelong figurehead, the Senate, which directed policy, the Council of Ten, a secretive body for state security, and the Great Council, the sovereign body of the nobility. This complex system provided remarkable stability for centuries. Part 9. Terra firma, expansion onto the Italian mainland, 15th century. As Ottoman power threatened its maritime empire, Venice turned westward for security and resources. Through conquest and diplomacy, it absorbed a large land empire terra firma, including major cities like Padua, Verona, Vicenza, and Bergamo. This provided Venice with a strategic buffer, agricultural wealth, and control over overland trade routes, transforming it into a significant Italian land power as well as a sea power. Part 10. The Golden Age of Art and Architecture, 15th–16th centuries. The immense wealth of the 15th and 16th centuries fueled an unparalleled cultural renaissance. The Basilica of San Marco received its final form. Families built grand palaces along the Grand Canal. Artists like the Bellini family, Giorgione, Titian, Tintoretto, and Veronese developed a distinctive, color-saturated Venetian school of painting. Architects like Jacopo Sansovino and Andrea Palladio reshaped the city and the Veneto region with their classical buildings. Part 11. The League of Cambrai and the Greatest Threat, 1508–1517. Alarmed by Venice's mainland expansion, most of Europe united against it in the League of Cambrai, including the Pope, the Holy Roman Emperor, France, and Spain. In the Battle of Agnadello 1509, Venice suffered a catastrophic defeat and lost nearly all its mainland territories in a single day. Through brilliant diplomacy, playing its enemies against each other, and the loyalty of its mainland subjects, Venice managed to reconquer most of its territory within a decade, but its expansionist phase was over. Part 12. The Ottoman Challenge and the Battle of Lepanto, 16th–17th centuries. The relentless expansion of the Ottoman Empire steadily eroded Venice's maritime possessions, including Cyprus and Crete, despite long, bloody wars. The apex of this conflict was the Battle of Lepanto 1571, a massive naval engagement where a Holy League fleet led by Spain, Venice, and the papacy inflicted a decisive defeat on the Ottoman fleet. While it was a massive morale boost for Christendom, the strategic gains were limited, and the Ottoman threat continued to loom, slowly strangling Venice's eastern trade. Part 13. The Age of Splendor and Spectacle, 17th century. As its political and economic power waned, Venice reinvented itself as the pleasure capital of Europe. It became a city of opera, music. The first public opera house opened in 1637, theatre, the works of Goldoni, and lavish public festivals like Carnival. This era saw the rise of the cicisbeo and a culture of masked anonymity. The city's appearance was defined by the Baroque style, with Baldassare Longhenna's Santa Maria della Salute built as a votive offering for deliverance from the plague. Part 14. The Last Glory and the Plague, 1630–1718. The Great Plague of 1630–31 killed nearly a third of Venice's population, a tragedy memorialized by the Church of Il Redentore and chronicled in the literature of the time. Despite this, Venice experienced a final military triumph in the Marine War, 1684–1699, where it briefly reconquered the Peloponnese from the Ottomans. This was the last gasp of Venetian imperial expansion. Part 15. The Final Century of Decline, 18th century. The 18th century was a period of political neutrality, hedonism, and irreversible decline. The discovery of new sea routes to the Americas and Asia around Africa had permanently shifted global trade away from the Mediterranean. Venice's navy was a shadow of its former self, and its government was stagnant. Yet, it remained a center for the arts, with the painter Canaletto capturing its views and the playwright Carlo Goldoni revolutionizing comedy. Part 16. The Fall of the Republic, 1797. The thousand-year-old republic met an ignoble end. Napoleon Bonaparte, leading his French army into Italy, demanded Venice surrender. After a brief token resistance and the use of a false flag incident, Napoleon declared Venice an enemy of liberty. On May 12, 1797, the last Doge, Ludovico Manin, abdicated. The Great Council voted itself out of existence, and the Serene Republic vanished without a fight, ending over 1,100 years of independent rule. Part 17. Austrian Rule and the Risorgimento, 1815–1866. After Napoleon's defeat, the Congress of Vienna, 1815, awarded Venice to the Austrian Empire. For over 50 years, Venice was part of the Kingdom of Lombardy-Venetia. During the 19th century movement for Italian unification, Risorgimento Venetians, led by figures like Daniele Manin, rebelled in 1848–49, re-establishing the Republic for 17 months before being crushed by the Austrians. Venice was finally united with the Kingdom of Italy in 1866 following the Austro-Prussian War. Part 18. The Industrial Age and Modern Challenges, late 19th, mid-20th century. As part of Italy, Venice faced new realities. The mainland port of Marghera was developed as an industrial zone. A railroad and road causeway physically connected the city to the mainland, ending its physical isolation. Tourism began to emerge as a major industry. This period also saw the first scientific studies of the city's most pressing problems: subsidence, the sinking of the land, and acqua alta, high water flooding. Part 19. The 20th century, from wars to mass tourism. Venice suffered damage during both world wars. The 20th century's most transformative impact was the rise of mass tourism, which began accelerating after World War II. The population of the historic center declined as residents moved to the mainland for modern conveniences, while the city increasingly catered to day trippers. The catastrophic flood of 1966 was a global wake-up call, triggering international efforts to save the city's art and architecture from decay and the rising waters. Part 20. Venice in the 21st century, a city at a crossroads. Today, Venice is a UNESCO World Heritage Site grappling with existential threats. The long-delayed MOSE system of mobile floodgates became operational in 2020, offering protection from high tides. However, the city now battles overtourism, which strains its infrastructure and threatens its delicate ecosystem, and the continued exodus of its permanent population. The central challenge for Venice in the 21st century is to balance its role as a living city and a global museum, preserving its unparalleled heritage for future generations while remaining a viable community.